Dover Air Force Base, a C-17. Soldiers in full dress as pallbearers, the dignified transfer attended by President Trump. Mournful quiet on the windswept tarmac for these U.S. military personnel. First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25, of Hawaii. Staff Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton, 30, of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Sergeant Angel Rappersad, 28, of Ozone Park, New York. Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19, of Carrollton, Texas. Feehan, Rappersad, and Gonzalez died from an Iranian missile strike against U.S. forces stationed in Jordan. Swinton died in Iraq. Reminders all that the perils of war are real. 4 American families plunged into shattering grief after the dashed high hopes of that memorandum of understanding and all the promises of peace that accompanied it. Now, instead, future risks stalk the region. Before attending the dignified transfer, Trump said on social media that for every Iranian drone or missile attack in the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. will, quote, bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, unquote. This, as you know, is a familiar threat. It would cross a line Trump has so far respected, avoidance of purely civilian targets. Iran, of course, has never been so constrained, firing rockets and missiles towards civilian targets in neighboring Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, to name just 3. Not to mention Iran hurling explosive-laden drones into Iraq and, as we mentioned, with tragic consequences, missiles into Jordan. Today, Iran said if the U.S. hit civilian targets, it would seek to halt all oil flow from the Middle East by attacking oil, natural gas, electricity, and economic infrastructure. These, we should stress, are all threats. Threats. But they do point to a deeper and possibly more deadly and destabilizing turn in this conflict. Oil prices consequently traded in the high 80s to upper 90s, to the mid-90s rather, per barrel today, foreshadowing, of course, an upward spike in domestic gas prices. Quick reminder, the average price of a gallon of regular, $4.06 per gallon, up from $3.89 a week ago. Diesel fuel, you know, that powers delivery trucks, farm tractors, $5.18 a gallon, up from $4.93 a week ago. With the latest on all this, we turn to CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata, who joins us once again from Amman, Jordan. Charlie, lots of threats.
Yeah, well, major Jordanian officials tell us that 3 Iranian missiles were intercepted here today. Another 4 drones after that in Jordanian airspace. But U.S. and Jordanian officials are more worried about the trend because up until last week, Jordan was spared the kind of onslaught that they've seen in Bahrain and Kuwait. That was until last Wednesday. That's when they took aim at that air base that hosts U.S. forces. And within 48 hours after that, that direct hit that killed those 3 U.S. soldiers and wounded dozens more. Now, every day for the past week, Iran has fired missiles and drones at Jordan. It's been setting off air raid sirens for the first time since the beginning of the war. And a former Jordanian general that we spoke to said Iran's not only changing tactics, but it's clear they still got the kind of highly advanced missiles that are capable of changing trajectory on re-entry. And that's challenging even the most advanced U.S. defenses, including the Patriot missile defense system. President Trump criticized Jordan for failing to defend against that attack that killed U.S. soldiers. But analysts we spoke to say only America's most advanced defenses would have been capable of intercepting those munitions. And it appears that Iran is continuing to exploit that Achilles heel.
Charlie D'Agata, Amman, Jordan, thank you so very much. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins me now for analysis on this. Sam, you just heard what Charlie mentioned about capabilities Iran still possesses, some of which are clearly sophisticated and, as we have sadly learned, lethal.
Major, that's certainly true. Iran is flexing its muscles and showing not just the geographic scope of its capabilities, but also the fact that it has a broad range of technologies it can deploy to hit U.S. assets. The United States has a couple thousand troops in Jordan and thousands of troops scattered within the region. not to mention diplomats and members of the intelligence community. Iran is clearly trying to demonstrate that it has both the intent and capability to strike all of these targets. At the same time, the IRGC is clearly showing it retains the ability to leverage control over its proxies, like the Houthis, who, as we know, have threatened to impose military blockade against Saudi energy exports. So this is certainly a multi-track approach for the IRGC. And further, if the IRGC does choose to move forward with striking energy infrastructure in the region more broadly, Major, we're just talking about an incredibly dispersed set of upstream, midstream, and downstream resources that the Iranians could attack.
So to that point, Sam, would it be incorrect for the average American listening to you and watching us say, well, wait a minute, the Iranians bluff about a lot of stuff. Maybe the stuff about destroying energy infrastructure in the region is just a bluff. Should it be taken seriously?
Everything the IRGC says should be taken seriously. And by the same token, President Trump does bluff a lot, and it's oftentimes hard to know what is rhetoric versus reality. It is important that our viewers understand that the IRGC repeatedly violates international law by striking civilian targets. That is a violation of the Geneva Conventions. President Trump has repeatedly threatened to do just the same. Striking bridges and tunnels that have no military affiliation would be a violation of the Geneva Conventions. And certainly, the United States has a longstanding reputation for being the leader when it comes to international law versus someone who could potentially violate it.
Sam Vinograd, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.